Hey guys, welcome to Brillianaire, a nonprofit dedicated to providing students in underprivileged communities with educational opportunity. And today we're going to be continuing our Python Basics series, and this is episode 2. So today we're going to be looking at the if statement and what its uses are in Python. So let's check it out. Okay, so the if statement follows a basic syntax. Essentially, you just type in the word if, and then you're going to be typing in some sort of statement right after this if word. And so that statement is going to run, and based on whether that statement amounts to true or false, the commands within the if statement will run. So that was a little bit of a jumble, so let's give you a little example to show you what I mean. So let's say that we had a variable, right? So let's get rid of this first. Let's say we had a variable called a, and we set it equal to 2. And so if I said if a plus 3 is equal to 5, then I'd put a colon here, and then press enter, and then I would say print addition. Yes, okay. Let's print addition. And then else, we're going to be printing not addition. Let's just keep it very simple here. Okay, so let's break this down a little bit because I know that was pretty fast. So first, we're going to be setting our variable equal to 2. We're just going to be calling this variable a. And then second, we're going to be taking into account our if statement. So we're going to be typing in if a plus 3 double equal sign 5. And the reason we have this double equal sign is because this basically symbolizes a relational operator. And what that means is that it's saying if a plus 3 is equivalent to 5. As you can see on the first line, we said a equal to 2 with one equal sign. That equal sign is called an assignment operator because we're assigning a value of 2 to a. And so when we just use one equal sign, we call that an assignment operator. But if we use two equal signs, we're going to be calling that a relational operator because we want to find the relation between a plus 3 and 5. And so what we're trying to figure out is if a plus 3 is equivalent to 5. And so for that, we use two equal signs. And so in if statements, always use relational operators because that's what's going to give you a true or false output. So for example, we could also say if a plus 3 is greater than 5, or if a plus 3 is greater than or equal to 5, and so on and so on. So yeah. So that's what we have here for our first if statement. If a plus 3 is double equal to 5, so if a plus 3 is equivalent to 5, then we're going to be putting in our colon for the indent, and then under the if statement, we're going to be printing addition. So if a plus 3 is equivalent to 5, we're going to be printing out addition in the terminal. But then we go to our else statement. So if a plus 3 is not equal to 5, so else, we're going to be printing not addition. So let's run this code and see what happens. And we're going to wait for a terminal here. And so it printed addition, which means a plus 3 is equivalent to 5. And obviously we expect this because 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. Otherwise, our code would be wrong. Something would be wrong with our interpreter, and we'd have to fix that. So this is working perfectly. Now, let's say I change the value of a to 5 instead. So now if a plus 3 is equivalent to 5, we still print addition. And if not, we print not addition. But this time we change the value of a to 5. So a plus 3 is going to be 8. Which means when we run this code, we expect the if statement to be false, which means it will not print addition, and then it'll go to the else statement instead, and it will print not addition in the terminal. So let's give it a run and see what happens. And as you can see in the terminal, we have not addition. And so that's really good because now we know our program is working perfectly, and we were able to use the if-else statements to make our output like this. So as you can see, in this case, the if statement, a plus 3 is equivalent to 5, amounts to false because 8 is not equal to 5. So then we kick out of this if statement and we go to the else statement. So now the program goes to the else statement and prints out not addition. Cool. So let's say we wanted to do something else. Let's say we wanted to do 3 if statements. And what I mean by that is we have this command called the elif. And so basically it's another way to provide some sort of true or false output, and another way to run another command given a different output. And so that may sound a little bit confusing, so I'm going to try and clear that up a little bit here. So let's say a is equal to 5, right? And if a plus 3 is equivalent to 5, then we print addition. But we can also say elif a plus 3 is equal to 8. So that's a 6. 8. Then we can print success. And then else, if neither of these are true, we can go to the else statement and print not addition. So in this case, what we expect to see is first it'll go to the if statement and it'll say if a plus 3 is equivalent to 5, we print addition. And so in this case, a plus 3 is equal to 8, so we will not be printing addition. This if statement will terminate to false, and we're going to be moving on to the next command. So the next command is the elif statement. And basically, the elif statement, short for else if. So if the if statement is false, then we go to the elif statement, which is next in line. So the elif statement says if a plus 3 is equivalent to 8, then we print success. And since a is 5, 5 plus 3 is equal to 8, so our elif statement should amount to true, and we should be able to print success in the terminal. And it should not go to the else statement because it should amount this elif statement to true, and we should be able to see that here. So let's run this program. And as you can see, we have success. We have printed success to the terminal because first the if statement amounts to false because 8 is not equal to 5. But the elif statement amounts to true because a plus 3 is equal to 8, which is true in this case. So we print success. And so we can have a number of elif statements here. We can say like if a plus 4 is equal to like 15 or something, we print high, right? And if a was equal to 11, then we would print high in the terminal because these first two statements would be false. We go to the second elif statement, and 11 plus 4 is 15, so that works out, and we print high. And so that's kind of the power of if-else statements, and it shows you a way to get different sort of outputs based on whether a statement amounts to true or false in Python. Okay, so let's go ahead and combine our previous lesson with this new lesson. So, for example, let's take our user input, right? I mean, we've combined the print statement already, so let's take the user input aspect of previous lesson and combine it into the if statement aspect of this lesson. So let's say we have user input. Let's say a equals int input, and then we're going to tell them to enter an integer. And basically, we want to see if the integer is even or odd. And if it's even, we want to print out the number is even to the terminal. And if it's odd, we want to print out the number is odd to the terminal. And so the way we're going to be doing this is with an operator called Modulus. And it comes in the sign of a percent symbol, just like this one. And so what Modulus does is it outputs the remainder of dividing two numbers. So, for example, let's say if, or actually let's not even go there. Let's just say print a mod 2, okay? And so if I were to input a as 4, an even number, our answer would be 0 because 4 divided by 2 is 2 and there's no remainder. So when we get no remainder, the output is 0 because Modulus basically just wants to output the remainder of a division problem. But let's say that I run this code again and I input 5 for a instead of 4. And so now our Modulus function outputs 1 because 5 divided by 2 is 2 remainder 1, and we want to output that remainder, so it outputs 1 in this case. So this is really useful because we can tell if a number is even or odd if we do modulus 2. So given any number, let's call this number a, given any number a, if we do a modulus 2 and the output is 0, then we know that a has to be an even number. But if we do a modulus 2 and we get a remainder of 1, then we know that a has to be an odd number because odd numbers are not perfectly divisible by 2. So with that knowledge in mind, let's combine all our powers and make this program. So we have our user input with A here, and we're going to be saying if A mod 2 equal 0, and so this basically says if the remainder of A divided by 2 is equivalent to 0, then we're going to be carrying out whatever statement we put within this if statement. So for this case, we want to print out the number is even, like that. And that's good. So now we're going to be calling our elif statement, and of course you can do this with the else statement as well. I just want to show you the elif statement so I can show you the relational operator for A mod 2 is equivalent to 1. So elif A mod 2 is equal to 1, or we could also write it as if A mod 2 is not equal to 0. And the exclamation mark is Python's symbol for not. And so if A mod 2, which means if the remainder between A divided by 2 is 0, then we know it's even. But if the remainder of A divided by 2 is not 0, then we know it's odd. So we can write it this way. We can also write it as if the remainder of A divided by 2 is equal to 1, because that also means that A would be odd. Or we don't even have to use the elif statement, we can just use the else statement, which is the most simplest way to do it. So if A mod 2 is equivalent to 0, we print the numbers even. Else, which means if this statement is false, then we go to our else statement, and we're going to be printing the number is odd. And there we have it. So this should print out whether the number is even or odd, depending on what number I give the program. So let's say I want to put the number 8 in. It should say the number is even because we go to this first if statement, A divided by 2. So A is 8 in this case. So 8 divided by 2 is 4 with no remainder, which means the number is even because A mod 2 would equal 0. But if we ran this code again and we inputted the number 9, we would get the numbers odd because if A mod 2 is equivalent to 0 amounts to false because we know that 9 divided by 2 is 4 remainder 1, which means that the first if statement is false. So we go to the else statement and the number is odd is printed out. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this episode. This was a little bit on if statements and its counterpart, the else statement, and we were able to combine some of our previous lesson powers with this lesson to provide a short program to determine whether a number is even or odd. So again, thank you all for watching. I hope you stay tuned for the next episode because we will be talking about for loops and while loops in that episode. Thank you so much and stay tuned, Brillianaires.